Oh, I didn't see you there. Welcome back to another edition of Cliff Notes Tuesdays. We are starting a brand new book. This time, or whatever, is Epic Content Marketing by Joe Pulizzi. And some of you may have heard of Joe. He is the founder, I believe, and CEO of the Content Marketing Institute, so contentmarketinginstitute.com. And he hops right into it with this book. So the way it's laid out is kind of like blog posts in that they're really short chapters. So we're going to go through the introduction, chapter 1 and chapter 2 really quickly here for Epic Content Marketing. So one of the things that Joe says that really resonated with me and how I feel when we're doing our own content marketing efforts is your customers don't care about you, your products, or your services. They care about themselves. And that's really important to know or keep in mind when you're doing your content marketing efforts. And it's why advertising doesn't work the same way that it used to. Because people don't care about what you're trying to sell them until they're in that mode where they're actually trying to buy that thing. So with your content marketing efforts, you really got to be mindful of how can I inform or entertain this person until they're at a point where they're at buying temperature. So he also goes on to mention that CMI, the Content Marketing Institute, has only spent $39,400 on advertising since its inception in 2007. So that's about 6 years, and that's a really small amount of advertising budget that they spent because they've gone so far with their content marketing efforts that they haven't really needed to spend so much on advertising. And here at iAcquire, we don't spend that much money on paid media at all either. We really do stuff like this and a lot of blog posts, put out a lot of white papers and case studies and such, and that works really well for us. So we really haven't spent that much on advertising. So the next chapter goes in what is content marketing? And I'll read the definition straight out of the book. Content marketing is the marketing and business process for creating and distributing valuable and compelling content to attract, acquire, and engage a clearly defined and understood target audience with the objective of driving profitable customer action. It's pretty straightforward. He goes on to say, here are some of the other names that content marketing is known under, and I kind of disagree with some of them. He mentions inbound marketing as being the same as content marketing. There's definitely some overlap there, but inbound marketing is more about, it's the difference between inbound marketing and content marketing is that content marketing is channel agnostic. It doesn't matter if you're putting your content in paid media or not. In inbound, you're pretty much not putting it in paid media at all. It also goes on to say that content strategy is the same thing as content marketing, and I completely disagree with that as well. Because content marketing in most cases is just I created something, I put it out, let's see what happened. Whereas content strategy has a lot more to do with the process of that creation and maintenance of that content. So there's also a section where they specifically talk about the difference between social media marketing and content marketing, and by their definition, they're saying that the center of gravity for content marketing is your own website rather than the social media channels. And I agree, and I also disagree with that as well because, if you're doing social media marketing the right way, at least the way we do it, the end goal is always to bring somebody back to your site and, make them fulfill an action that, helps out the brand. Okay, so on to chapter 2, they talk about the history of content marketing. And basically what this chapter says is that, a lot of people have been doing content marketing for a really long time. So he mentions 1895, John Deere started putting out a magazine called The Furrow, which was more about, how to learn how to use the John Deere tools to the best of your abilities rather than just selling things to you. The Michelin Guide is another example of this. So when people are traveling, they didn't know what restaurants to go to or where to get their cars fixed. So the Michelin Guide, as you know, is something that's like a big thing. Restaurants that are highly Michelin rated are the ones that are, the Dorsias of our time. And Dorsey is an American Psycho reference if you didn't know. 1904, I believe. I can't even read my own handwriting, so don't feel bad. The Jell-O recipe book. And then moving on to, when Procter & Gamble started doing soap operas, they were literally radio operas that were sponsored by P&G to sell soap. And you know, even today you'll see these soap operas, and the commercials will be really targeted to selling a consumer packaged good. And another quote that this chapter ends with: as smart content marketers, we need to keep in mind that channels come and go, but good stories and storytelling last forever. So that also really resonated with me because it's true. You know, what do we talk about day in, day out? What is the content that catches fire on the internet? It's the stuff that tells a good story. And with that said, that concludes chapters 1 and 2 and the introduction of Epic Content Marketing. We will see you next week for another episode of Cliff Notes Tuesday.